I still like the reality of dark better. I don't know if I'm weird, but like when I'm watching TV, I want all the lights off. Everything. I want the TV so blaringly bright and everything else so hideously dark that it's like you can't help but burn the image right to your retina. You know, I like the room to be dark. When I'm working on my messages, I turn out all the lights in my office and shut the door and just have my computer screen glowing at me. But it's not like a normal computer screen text editor. I have a black background and gray letters on it. And so like I'm in total darkness. My keyboard's not lit up. It's just, you know, me and the screen and the text and stuff. I'm weird. I get that. But I like the dark. And so when I read this passage and it says, men love darkness rather than the light, I'm like, cool, I'm a man. You know, because, you know, that's what it said. But the question is, why do we like the dark? Because Jesus says we like the dark because our deeds are evil. And that's not so encouraging. So I'm wondering, you know, what is it about the whole darkness situation that we tend to like? And I was thinking about it, and I used to think that what was cool about the dark was freedom. That in the dark, there are no rules. You know? Because it's just like whatever happens in there happens, and what happens in the dark stays in the dark, sort of, you know? It's like no rules. My kid, Charlie, asked me a couple weeks ago why the dark force was so much cooler than the light side of the force. And I had to say, well, because, you know, there are no rules. And the dark side of things, if you want to use the force power to make electricity flow out of your fingertips and kill someone, you can do that. On the light side of the force, this is a Star Wars reference, if that went past some of you, but on the light side of the force, you know, you have limits. You can't do those kinds of things. On the dark side, you can, you know, supposedly try to bring people back from the dead. On the light side, you supposedly can't. Whatever. It's all Star Wars theology, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But it's like there's always this sense that the dark side is somehow cooler. Why is that? I was thinking about it, and as I looked at what Jesus said, if you look in here, it says, men love darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. But look a little further. It says, everyone who does evil hates the light, and he will not come into the light for fear that his deeds will be exposed. See, Jesus said it's because of fear. It's because of fear that their deeds will be exposed. It's not so much that the dark is good, it's that the light is scary. Because when whatever it is you're doing, or I'm doing, or have done, gets made public, that's scary. I remember when Jen and I were first married, I was enamored with the invention of this new thing called the internet. And it was weird because some people thought you could make money on it. And so I thought I could make money on it. And I started developing a bunch of schemes. And one of my coolest schemes was a website that I created called Make It Pay, where you could actually get paid for using the internet. You know now how Google is heaps rich because they put advertising on their search engine pages? Well, back then, Google wasn't around, and so you could put advertising on your computer and supposedly get heaps rich out of it. And so I started, you know, marketing this advertising thing that people could put. And I remember telling Jen once, and she was like, "That's such a scam." It's like, no, it's not. It's legitimate, and it's pyramid scheme scam. Nothing. No, nothing. It's legitimate. Yeah, that's it. And she was like, no, I don't like that. And I was like, oh, whatever. So I gave that up. And then I found out that you could download old video games for the Commodore 64. There are computer programs you could run on your Windows machine that makes it pretend like it's an ancient Commodore 64, and you can play those ancient Commodore 64 games on there. And I found out that I could download 600 megabytes of them through the internet connection that we had, and put them on a CD and sell them on eBay. I just lost my microphone. And sell them on eBay. And then I found out that that was cool, and I decided I'm going to sell them on eBay. And I told Jen about that, and she goes, "That's such a scam." So then another thing came up, another idea came up, and I decided I wasn't going to tell her. Yeah, it was a scam. So I thought about it for a moment. I gave myself about a week, and I thought about it, I processed it, and I said, Honestly, if I'm not willing to tell Jen, that's probably because it really is bad. And she's going to recognize it, and she's going to tell me not to do it. So I told her, and she said it was bad, and I never did it. And I tell you, I can't even remember what it was at the time, but it was scheming. And so as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking, it was easier, it would have been easier to get the job done, to do the thing that I wanted to do if I just kept it in the dark from my spouse. But bringing it out into the light meant that truth came out. And I ended up not doing something I may have gone to jail for. I don't even remember what it was, but who knows what it was. But we like the dark because the light is fearful. It's scary to enter the light and have all the stuff you've ever done exposed. So there are three problems with the light. Three problems with the dark. So people can't handle truth. They can't handle the light, and it's scary for us. And I don't know if you've seen that movie, A Few Good Men, where Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise are having this debate. And Jack Nicholson says, "You can't handle the truth." It's a big scene. I think it's true. I think it's a lot of times we can't handle the truth. If we get too vulnerable with someone, you've had this experience before. Someone asks you how you're doing, and you tell them the truth. And you say, "Well, you know what? I'm really not doing so well today because my dog is sick. And I love my dog, and it really weighs on me heavily when I see my dog suffering like that." Those of you who know about dogs and you have dogs, you know about this stuff. Those of you who don't have dogs think the whole idea is just silly. And so those of you who want to say this to someone else know that someone else thinks this is silly, and you're not necessarily going to come out and actually verbalize it because they might look at you funny. And so you're going to keep that in the dark because they can't handle the truth. Right? And yet we do that on so many levels. We take such big parts of us and we try to hide them away in the dark. And we only open ourselves up to other people just on the level that it's comfortable, that it's safe. We do the same thing with God. We'll only open ourselves up to God just to the level that it's safe. But there are three problems with that. Here's a couple blanks to fill in. Problem number one is that God Himself is light. 1 John 1:5 and 6 says this, "This is the message we've heard from Him and declare to you. God is light. In Him there is no darkness at all. If we claim to have fellowship with Him, yet walk in the darkness, we lie and do not live by the truth." God is light. If we choose to live lives that have darkness in them, then the part of us that is in the darkness is apart from God, distant from God.